With the first pick overall, the New Jersey Devils are proud to select from the U.S. program, Jack Hughes.
Let's go, baby!
Lays it across, Vatanen drives, score! Sammy Vatanen let it rip. It's a power play goal, and the Devils have opened it up. Oh, my. Nico walking in, shooting, score! Nico Hischier on the rush, ends it in overtime, and the Devils win it in Montreal.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Jersey Joe Corner. It is brought to you by Big Heads Media. It is going to be a great hockey season coming right up. A lot of interesting things. Anchor.fm will help you start your podcast and get things rolling. It's going to be a lot smoother when you get the Anchor app, and it's so much easier to navigate. Even their online website at anchor.fm is very efficient, and you can do a lot of great things with it. And I stand by it myself. And I must say, it's time to say, let's go Devils. The Devils win! The Devils win! 5-3 in Carolina. They were not careless in Carolina. They win it big time in Carolina. And the Devils are victorious now in November. Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Jersey Joe Corner. And this is your host, Jersey Joe, and
Jersey Jim. How's everybody doing today? We're ready. We're ready for a 4-game road trip to Western Canada.
Isn't it great to touch down in Winnipeg?
Yeah, it is. Let's hope we get a better result than we had at opening night.
Well, speaking of touching down, we don't want to let up a touchdown versus the Jets because, well, these ones in Winnipeg do like to get loud, just like when they used to raise "Hell Yeah" as their old goal song.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, look, the MTS Center is one of the loudest buildings in the National Hockey League, and the Devils. It's a tough atmosphere for them to play in. That haven't had too much success there in their history.
Yeah, or as old coach Peter DeBoer would say, it's a tough building.
It is a tough building. It is a very tough building, and it's going to be even a tougher building to play in when you're. I mean, it's tough when you lose players to injuries, but when a guy like Jesper Bratt, who just came back into the lineup and it got hurt and he was playing well, yeah, it's tough to replace him. But hey, Nikita Gusev's there, and let's see if he can.
Jesper Boqvist as well.
Yeah, Jesper Boqvist in the lineup as well. He's played well, but Gusev on that line with Zacha and Hischier, I like it.
We'll be seeing two primetime snipers going at each other tonight. You know, you have Patrick Laine on the Jets, and you have Nikita Gusev coming in, both with very lethal shots.
Yeah, and you know, Laine's trying to find himself. He's been inconsistent over these last 2 seasons, but then again, they've had him up and down the lineup so much that, you know, if he can settle in on one line and then play his power play position in the Ovechkin slot, that's where he's most dangerous.
And usually one of the things that, you know, when I look at Patrick Laine is his release and also his snapshot and his one-timer. So those are the things that Mackenzie Blackwood will have to look forward to if he's in net tonight.
And he is in net tonight. So he will be making his 3rd straight start for the Devils. So this tells me, and I don't know, maybe I'm reading too much into it. You may have the same thing. To me, it's a sign that Blackwood is the guy now.
Well, I would like to say is that Blackwood to me has been the guy since he was called up over a year ago, and he got that big shutout in Boston, and playing big ever since then. Despite losing in the relief role against Winnipeg on opening night and being shellacked against Buffalo, he's really persevered.
Absolutely. I mean, he was the reason the Devils won in Carolina. Let's face facts.
The Devils kind of looked careless in Carolina, but they didn't come away completely careless.
No, they
But
didn't.
they came along strong, as my coworker would say. But they did, have PK go down right near the crease and tip in a goal.
And PK looked good. He played good against the Flyers on Friday too. He definitely had much better games. Defensively, they locked it down, but Mackenzie Blackwood stood tall.
But it seems like, when Pavel Zacha, the way he's playing, he could bring that physical size and finesse that can kind of cancel out the Winnipeg Jets on a forecheck or getting through the neutral zone. Winnipeg is one of those teams that loves to play with a big physical, not so much speed, but they want to big brother you. They want to hold you in your own zone.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see how the Jets match up again against the Devils, because that first night they were on the road and Paul Maurice was trying to put Scheifele and Wheeler out against Jack Hughes, which I wouldn't be surprised he does again on home ice.
Well, we know Mark Scheifele is one of the most underrated forwards, especially in the NHL, not named Jack Hughes or even Connor McDavid. I mean, he's one of those value picks in that Winnipeg 2.0 draft. If I recall, it was in 2011.
Yes.
That was a really solid pickup from the Barrie Colts, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, I mean, he's turned into one of the best players, one of the best centers I've seen in the league since he's called up after the Jets decided, hey, we're going to let you develop for a year or two. And then he comes out and look, he's made that team what they are. He's a dangerous team with Blake Wheeler on his side. That top line is scary good, and we saw what they did in the first matchup against the Devils.
They can come back at any moment. And, speaking of the Barrie Colts, I would like to remind people that Mackenzie Blackwood did play in Barrie, and, that was where, if I remember correctly, that's where the Florida Panthers got Ekblad.
Yes, the Barrie Colts got a good tradition of sending guys to the National Hockey League.
And so we look forward to seeing, two alumni from the Barrie Colts in the Canadian Hockey League, going in tonight. And we look forward to seeing Schneider, who's a former Manitoba Moose that was part of the Vancouver Canucks organization. He's been in that tough building in the MTS Center since then.
Yeah, and, the Devils here, they got a big chance to do some damage here on the road. I was talking to a buddy of mine, and we were saying that, if they could get 3 wins on this road trip, that's really, really good.
And also, speaking of referring to Winnipeg, one of my favorite Simpsons moments is when Bart Simpson leans into the other person's car and smacks the driver. And the driver says, "That's it, back to Winnipeg." Why do I say that? Because I think someone in the Devils' way up on the flight said, "All right, that's it. Time to go to Winnipeg."
Yeah, it's time to go to Winnipeg, all right. And, the Jets, they're coming home after a couple games on the road. And they won back-to-back games in 2 tough buildings to play in, and they did it in comeback fashion like we saw, and they did it against the Devils on opening night in New Jersey. And it's never fun going into a place like Winnipeg, especially if you haven't won. And, we turn the calendar, November 1st was Friday. Yeah, Devils lost. But if you look at the overall weekend and heading into Winnipeg, 3 out of 4 points isn't too bad.
And you look at it this way, the Devils know what to expect versus Winnipeg. They are going to come out with a revenge, and they know what they want to do. It's just a matter of executing it. I would like to think when they go up against Calgary, they want to take it a little bit more serious than Calgary usually has been handling them in their own barn.
Yeah, it's weird because the Devils, when they go into this Western Canada road swing, they either do really well or they don't do good at all. And Calgary's a weird spot because I believe the last couple games that have been played in Calgary, the game has gone to the extra session, and the Devils have picked up. They've either won it or they lost it, but they've always walked away from points with Calgary, and then they always got to go play Edmonton the next night, and it's either they play really good or they don't play well at all.
One of the things I noticed about Calgary against Winnipeg during the outdoor game, it always seemed when they had the snow coming down, they were getting some smooth ice out there, but at the same time, they were having a lot of board battles, the old-fashioned school hockey right there. But there were some questionable calls in that game, but maybe there are going to be some favorable calls against both teams tonight. Maybe there'll be an evening play a little bit more, but sometimes you get lucky on those bounces when you create traffic.
Yeah, they're definitely two complete different teams. And even if you want to throw Edmonton in there or even Vancouver, who the Devils saw not too long ago, all 4 teams are completely different. And they're going to play the Jets tonight. Then they go play the Calgary. Calgary's a more physical team, especially up front, than Winnipeg.
Lucic is out.
Lucic is serving 2 games. So he's got 2 game suspension. So you don't have to worry about him. But, Matthew Tkachuk is there.
You got to be careful of those boys.
Oh, man. And that goal he scored against Nashville, unreal.
Jesus.
Holy cow. But then, you got Sean Monahan, Johnny Gaudreau.
Jersey boy.
Yeah, Elias Lindholm on there as well. So, it's 2 different styles. So you're going to have to play 2 different ways. But tonight, you focus tonight on Winnipeg. You go in there, you try to get 2 points. Again, tough place to play. And the Jets are getting Nathan Beaulieu back on defense. So this is his first game.
And the Devils have experienced Nathan Beaulieu because they played him in Buffalo. They played him in Montreal. And Beaulieu is not, a superstar defender, but he can certainly direct plays and, dissect an offense and a defense, being in his own end. So he's been a very good veteran throughout the years.
Yeah, he has. It was unfortunate that he got injured during training camp and couldn't play. But he'll be back tonight, and that bolsters their defense. Neil Piont's been playing well for them as well. Devils saw him in the first night. He scored a goal for the Jets in their comeback victory. And I think it's weird because in that first game, Blackwood had to come in for Schneider, and he was cold coming off the bench. Now Blackwood's played 2 games, and over his last 5 starts, he's had a .908 save percentage. It's still not good, but it's better. And it's in the 900s. And he's improving. And if he can continue to prove, now he's got a whole game to see this team. Now I was going to say not to cut you off, but usually when I see Mackenzie Blackwood starting to get in a groove, you can tell that his angles are right. He's sharper. He's crisper. He can really, throw his arms out there. Like, he can move laterally without any hesitation whatsoever. But I do think his angles on his blades are coming along. He's getting in sync. And once he's, focused, laser focused, he can get up to that .910 range in the save department. Yeah. And, now he's got a whole game to see the Jets. He's got a warm up to go through. He's going to be in his groove. And with him, it's like any goalie. If they can stop the first couple shots, they get the action, they feel comfortable. Forget it. I mean, yeah, the goals that he let up in Carolina were not bad goals.
I mean, that Carolina game, I mean, there was a little back and forth, with both teams' defenses, and both teams looked, a little lackadaisical at times, but nothing to discount on the offenses. But Miles Wood, actually, for the love of Pete, he did get down to the dirty areas on a big bounce from, if I believe it was Will Butcher, that hit it off the end boards and it tipped it in. If you remember that GIF I put on Twitter,
yes,
Happy Gilmore, just tap it in.
Just tap it in. And, it's funny because that fourth line, since being put together of Simmons, Rooney, and Wood, has actually looked really good. I'm not gonna give Miles Wood all the praise in the world, but he played a better game, and I think that's because the leadership of Simmons on that line. Now you have Simmons there doing the physicality part, and he can do all that other stuff, and then Miles Wood can just focus on his game.
I think one of the last two podcasts I talk about, and I also mentioned off air, is that the Devils need to tinker that fourth line a little bit. And when I believe John Hayden actually had to see his sister play at University of North Carolina for field hockey, and so he was out for that game, and that made perfect sense why he wasn't in the lineup. And that's why we were able to see Boqvist and we were able to see Simmons on that fourth line, and it really looked really good with Rooney and Wood all on that fourth line.
And the thing that stood out to me about the Carolina game, and I don't know, maybe you and I have a different eye. We usually do, but the one thing that I noticed about the game was that the Devils, for having a game the night before, their legs looked really fresh.
I do think that their skating legs, their mid-season form is starting to come in a lot better. I mean, Taylor Hall, he's starting to look like he's participating, but at the same time, I'm not sure if he's there for the rest of the season, if he's committed. I mean, this is a brotherhood, not a neighborhood.
Right, exactly. We talk about earning the B, being a brotherhood, and the Devils will do their thing, and everybody's getting hyped up about all meetings and this and that, and we're gonna talk. But as he mentioned, the quotes have come out. They're gonna evaluate the situation. It could take some time. It could take some months. May take to the end of the season. So, it's just going to be a fluid situation throughout the year. That's going to be the biggest question mark hovering around this team is when is this deal going to get done, if it gets done, and we may have to wait.
And I put out an article earlier today because on Pucks and Pitchforks, I mentioned that the benefit of moving Taylor Hall would be that you would get more out of Nikita Gusev. You would get more out of Jesper Boqvist. You would get more out of Bratt and all the other existing players in the lineup. And they can gel without, someone, screwing around the locker room, the chemistry. I think if that is the case, and eventually, someone did comment below saying, you're not looking at it totally if you weren't watching closely. I said, you know what? They got Domingue to be the person who's going to steal a spot from Schneider. But at the same time, you talked about defense not being enough. I said Nikita Zadorov could be a really good piece along with Samuel Girard.
That's if Colorado wants to make that play. I mean, they all have been linked there. The Devils have had scouts at different games looking at options. And, Samuel Girard, I'm actually starting to turn the page on because if there's one guy that Colorado could give up, it would be him because they're not going to give up Bowen Byram and they're not giving up Cale Makar. So those two guys it's not happening. So you get a guy like Girard, all right then.
It would move the Devils' defense and offense in many different ways, but Zadorov, you have a big guy that can score on occasions, and he can be a real clean hitter. And the Devils haven't had a real good, solid defender since basically Danico and Stevens. But Volchenkov really, wasn't that much of a hard hitter or a big shutdown guy when he was done with his Devils tenure.
Yeah, and like you brought up Domingue and the trade that happened Friday. I mean, it's a depth move for them. AHL. I mean, the problem is they really didn't have anybody to call up from the minors. God forbid one of these two guys get hurt. But it's not like Louis Domingue is going to be the savior if he came up and played, because he played in front of a good Tampa team last year. And as I talked about last time, it doesn't matter what defensive scheme, what goalie's in there. The defensive scheme is not working to protect these goalies from getting shots every night.
And I usually like to think that, when the Devils do get that new head coach, I know we've been barking up that tree for so long, but eventually that tree is going to fall down and there's going to be a new one planted. And, just a saying. But when we get a new coach, you put in a new style of defense to shut down the neutral zone entries and all those other special areas of the other team trying to counterattack you. It would be something that the Devils can shut down other teams and get the turnovers and create more offense with players like Heischer and Hughes.
Yeah, and the Devils did a flip flop. With Heischer and Hughes today in their lines combinations, and I'm not sure. I think I would have gone. I think I would have kept Hughes on the top line, just because I just think the way Heischer and Zacha were playing well together, and add Brad in there. Those guys were mixing it up well, and I think you want to protect him from the matchups because you're on the road, and he's been playing well, no doubt, but it's one of those things when you're a coach, you always try to exploit the rookies.
And it always seems, the Devils rookies are starting to gel in at the right time, at the right place. They came together in Carolina, and it seems like, when you go in together with that kind of the 3-1-2 record in the past 6 games, it's not that it shouldn't be too hard, but it is going to be difficult to win in Winnipeg.
Yes, it is. I mean, Winnipeg's a tough place to play. We outlined it before. Place is going to get loud. They love their Jets. I mean, Winnipeg, yes, have they underperformed this year? Yes, they have. But that's because there has been so much change on that back end. Their offense is great. You have Connor Hellenbeck's been good. Laurent Brossoit, the Devils saw opening night. So he stood on it. He played well and made the saves when he needed to. And he did the same thing in Vegas when the Jets were down 3-1. So Kyle Connor could score the overtime goal and make it 4-3.
And then Kyle Connor was one of those guys that scored on opening night against New Jersey. And he's one of those key guys that you have to, play the puck on, because if you're not playing him when he has the puck on his stick, it's hard to get the Jets' offensive out of your zone. And the Devils have been starting to improve that that defensive zone structure a little bit more, but I'm not completely trusting it. I'm not going to go to bed thinking that they're going to shut down every team.
No, you still got. I mean, the thing that creeps into your head is if they have a 1-goal lead in that third period, is there a mistake? Is there something that leads to them giving up the lead? And they protected it well against Carolina, and they made the right adjustments to where, okay, this guy needs to be out here taking a face-off late, or that guy needs to be out here to protect the lead. And then it happens, and then bang, they score the empty netter. And they deserve to win that game because they played well. And now replicate it. And I'm just wondering, is it they went from Carolina to Newark to Winnipeg, how much will the travel hurt their play?
sometimes, we just had daylight savings, so we turned the clocks back an hour.
Right.
And, when you look at the Eastern Standard Time, you go to Manitoba in Winnipeg, you have an hour less. So that's 1 hour behind. So it's not that big. I mean, but it's just one slight thing that makes you do one thing differently, and things kind of get offset a little bit. It's not exactly going to Sweden like Buffalo is,
Oh yeah,
but really
Buffalo and Tampa.
that's going to throw off their schedules very, I don't know, ginormous.
Yeah, and then just real quick, Tampa. They're out over there too. Victor Hedman's still out. He's day to day. He considers himself day to day. So we'll see if he's playing at home. It would stink for him not to play on his home ice, on his home turf in Sweden. That's always stinks. So, but hey, I believe Jesper Bratt didn't experience that last year. I believe he missed the game in Sweden last year.
I think he had something from preseason that lingered him from going over.
Or no, I think he was over there and he got hit with a puck or something during practice.
Yeah.
And then he had to miss the game. So it stinks because guys look forward to this kind of stuff. So hopefully Hedman can go because it's just an opportunity for them to play at home.
Especially marketing the game in Sweden.
And Tampa's got a bunch of Swedes on the team. So that's good for them. Devils tonight, it's a big one. They're starting to turn a corner, 3-2-1. If you put the game, put games in 6-game increments, I guess, whatever. You look at it 3-2-1 over the last 6, that's good. 3 out of 4 over the weekend. All right. Are they starting to turn in the right direction? Maybe keep distance, start picking up points. Let's not blow some leads and just think, all right, if we can just start picking away, maybe they can climb back into it. Is playoffs realistic? Not right now. I'm not going to hold my breath. But
they try to get back to NHL 500.
Exactly, and that's where you want to be.
You want to take all these baby steps. It's like baking a cake, except you're baking a cake in the sense of, getting back to NHL 500, break above even, and then go from there. Just focus on every game that you are going to play. I just say just focus on the one game and then go from there. It's like a business day. Just focus on the one business day and you'll be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Just do the little things, and I think that's what they're trying to do. And maybe, like I said, maybe expectations were high, but who knows? And I reposted a bunch of times about how the Devils defensively needed to be improvement, going back to an article I wrote for Last Word on Hockey about their defense. And obviously, everybody tells me, no, duh, it's, obviously it's a concern, it's a weakness, but it is starting to get better. And maybe if the fact that Hines really hasn't changed the pairings too much has allowed these guys to settle in and understand what each other can do.
And I mean, I remember Tennyson was supposed to be sent down, but that wasn't true.
It was a paper move. So just real quick, didn't want to cut you off there. But so just to explain people, with the CBA, you can make paper moves where a player doesn't have to physically go down, but on paper he does. And so they brought him back up just for cap purposes. So at the end, after the trade deadline, if you make these money moves, you can actually go over the cap once the trade deadline passes. It's similar to like baseball when they have the expanded roster, except there's no such thing as an expanded roster in hockey. You bring guys up, but they're never officially on your books. They can be on your books after. That's why you have all these black aces. So it was just a paper move to just show salary movement. There'll be more of that throughout.
And usually, we look at through the middle of the season, getting deeper towards December, we could possibly be seeing, Michael McLeod or Nathan Bastian get called up for these big body games versus like Calgary, because they have all that extra physical play. But now I want to touch more on Edmonton. Edmonton, as Will Scouch talked about Michael Grabner speed. That's called bye-bye speed, and Connor McDavid has just that. And the Devils,
I don't know if you would call him bye-bye speed. I call it roadrunner speed.
Roadrunner speed.
Roadrunner speed.
Beep beep.
That's it. Did you see that goal last night?
Oh my God!
Holy cow!
He looks like he's just galloping. Like
he
Kevin
did
Weeks
gallop
said.
at one point. He did. He literally galloped at one point on the ice.
I remember, what was it? NHL Network last year showed something from Sportsnet on a highlight reel that they measured his speed at like something ridiculous, like 25 miles an hour.
That's ridiculous.
That's bonkers crazy. I mean, if you think about that, that's like, imagine going on your bicycle in a straight line from one end of town to the other with no traffic. That's McDavid.
I don't even think I could get my bicycle up to 25 miles per hour.
But good luck catching McDavid. That's why you got to play him man to man.
And the worst part is, you can focus on McDavid, but the guy that is right now leading the team in points and could be the MVP of the league is Leon Draisaitl.
He was someone I mentioned with Will Scouch on that last episode.
Which was really good. Just to throw it out there, people, check it out. I listened to it. I haven't put it out on Twitter yet, but I'm going to do so tonight. I just listened to it today at work. It was really, really good and informative. You guys did an excellent job.
Thank you. Well, I've been following him for quite a while, but to kind of sum it up, like, I've always been doing my own scouting of certain draft players, but then at the same time, like, doing a mixture of genealogy of each player drafted out of certain leagues. And then Draisaitl, you had, what was it? You also had Ehrhoff from the DEL, and then you have Moritz Seider. Now you have Tim Stützle, who's this year's Adler Mannheim player in the draft, who's in the top 10, and he's a really good player, but he's not gonna be the type of defender that Moritz Seider is as a defenseman.
Yeah, I mean, when I first saw Leon Draisaitl play, was at the World Juniors when he was playing for Germany, and I was like, this kid's gonna be a star in the National Hockey League. And then everybody got on when he signed a deal. Everybody's like, oh, yeah, why are we giving him this kind of money this early? He's not better than McDavid. And maybe he's not better than McDavid, but you know what?
He's in his own echelon as a winger.
Exactly. And those two guys together are deadly.
I mean, Draisaitl has done so much for Germany since Christian Ehrhoff has been part of the NHL, and then I know we're sticking with the beer garden theme, I call it, because we're sticking with Germany, but also Switzerland. Nico Hischier, he's paved the way for a lot of the Swiss in that emerging hockey market, and he's gotten that big contract, where Ray Shero knows that his potential is on the uprise. And if you haven't seen a highlight reel of Nico Hischier doing that NHL 20 type stick handling move type goal, that was bar down, baby.
That was a beautiful goal the other night against Carolina. But, looking at that Oilers roster, I mean, the Devils, they know what to expect from this team. You've seen them. You've seen them play. You know who to stop, who not to stop. I mean, you lost in a shootout to Edmonton at the beginning of the year on home ice, and you had a lead. Multiple leads in that game.
And there was one point Blackwood didn't completely close his pads. And
McDavid tied the game.
And that was the heartbreaker.
Yeah, McDavid tied the game. So you can't give McDavid chances like that. You can't give Draisaitl chances like that. And you can't put them on the power play because you know what James Neal does when he's on the power play.
On the third floor, changing the password.
All right, that's good to know. That's good to know.
Yeah, anyways, we're not changing passwords, but we're going to change the way we pass the puck around.
Exactly.
But just thinking about how McDavid is so crafty, he can make a move looking like he's going to shoot, or he's going to decide to take a nice little saucer pass. So you just got to think, one step ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, look, and you got to love the way you got to look at like the way that Darnell Nurse has been playing for them this year. He's dangerous. I mean, the Devils saw him in the first time in New Jersey this year. Just to come to think of it, man, you complete your series with Winnipeg and Edmonton and Vancouver this week. That's crazy.
And the Devils had good luck against Vancouver, and Quinn Hughes has been turning it up.
And he'll be back, and he's
multiple
back.
Points, and he's going to try and get the last laugh versus Jack, but Jack got the first laugh.
Yeah, he did. And just looking at their roster too. I mean, Bo Horvat, JT Miller. I mean, Elias Pettersson was the first start of week. I mean, this kid is unbelievable what he's doing in his sophomore season for the Vancouver Canucks.
I still can't believe Lou Lamoriello made that Schneider move at the time, and then it ended up being Bo Horvat. At that time, I wasn't so sure who would be picked at number 9 if the Devils were picking, but I was so stunned that, we got Schneider. At that point, the first few seasons, Schneider's looked good, but Bo Horvat's looking a lot better in that move, though. I have to say, Mike Gillis did save Vancouver in that move.
I mean, yeah, Vancouver. I mean, these kids are playing well, and they have St. Louis at home tonight, and they're going to be a favorite on home ice tonight against a Blues team that, even though they have a 9-3-3 record, it's deceptive because they really haven't played that well this year.
It seems like the Blues are playing like they're listening to Spittin' Chicklets podcast, cracking it up with R.A. and Ryan Whitney and all those other guys and Paul Bissonnette. Meanwhile, they're getting their butts kicked, playing half and half on the ice.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, they've won a lot of their games in overtime, but they know how to win. So that's why they have a record of 9-3-3. But the Canucks have a record of 9-3-2 on home ice, and they play very, very well on home ice.
I do think going up against Vancouver, whether you get Markstrom or Demko, you're going in for a goaltender matchup. It's going to likely be another low-scoring affair, maybe 3-2, 2-3, 2-1. Who knows? I mean, it's going to be one of those go see your cardiologist type games.
Yeah, and it's an afternoon game this upcoming Sunday, so it's a 4:00 start our time, which is a 1:00 start out west. So after back-to-back games in Edmonton and Calgary on Thursday and Friday, they have Saturday off, and then the Canucks come to town, and the Canucks play Friday night. So, as well in Winnipeg, and they also play the night on Thursday, the same night as the Devils in Chicago. So they'll be coming home while the Devils will be there already.
Chicago, what? Those are one of my other favorite teams is the Chicago Blackhawks. Although they're getting older, but they still have a really good young center winger in Kirby Dach, who I did a little report on my YouTube channel during the summer.
And we could say officially welcome to the National, because he has recorded his first NHL goal this year.
That was actually, it was batted right off his kneecap, if I recall correctly.
Yeah, exactly.
and they said that's usually not how you dream it as a kid, but
no,
but that's how you get it as an adult in the NHL.
Exactly, and those are the things that usually happen. So, but hey, you know what? Hey, you take them as you can get them. To be honest,
I hate to say it looked like he did like a swinging bunt, and then it went right off his leg, right in the net, and it looked like he just got a nice base hit the way he flailed.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, it was a ground ball with eyes that just went in,
and he was called safe and he scored a big goal right there.
Yeah, he did.
For all those people who are hungover from the World Series still, that's how that Chicago goal reminded me of. But I do think the Blackhawks are still going to be one of those teams you just never take lightly, like the way the New York Rangers took the Ottawa Senators last night. And Chris Kreider did say that we didn't respect our opponents.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, those pesky Sens, let me tell you something about those pesky Sens. It seems no matter how bad they are, how good they are, they seem to always play well against the Rangers.
I mean, it's like, the Devils play against, the Rangers. Devils usually get the better end of the Rangers. And it's like, I know sticking with the Canadian theme, but when the Devils do play Montreal, the Devils and Canadiens play each other so well with similar structures that it's usually an even matchup almost, unless Price is in net and he's in his groove.
Well, it's interesting because I was looking ahead to that schedule when they play the Canadiens for the first time, and it's going to be interesting because both teams have a back-to-back, and the Canadiens are in Washington before they play the Devils. So I'm wondering if Claude Julien says to our old friend Keith Kincaid, go show New Jersey what you're made of.
I think for the listeners out there, as much as I like Kincaid as a backup, I want to see him lit up like avocado toast and creme brulee as my two favorites. But however, I want PK Subban to live it up in the Bell Center and make the Bell Center ring like a bell.
Yeah,
and have the reverse of Ale Monreal play.
Yeah.
And Lebu by Loco Locas, which is usually their goal song. But
I think it's actually they changed it. That's actually their win song now. But that's a ways off. We still have to go through Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton, and Vancouver. And the Canucks are going to look for revenge against the Devils because the Devils beat them 1-0. And that was a great goalie matchup between Blackwood and Demko. And I wouldn't be surprised if we saw it again.
I would like to assume that Bo Horvat's going to try and snipe from the point or move a little bit closer to the crease, but between the point, though, because that's usually his hot spot as a shooter. Then you have Edler, who's usually one of those veterans who likes to shoot from low danger. So
yeah,
usually those guys have those tendencies to score.
Yeah, and the Devils can't afford to take penalties against Vancouver. They got lucky last time because the Canucks power play couldn't hit the net to save its life. But this time around, you can't bank on them missing wide open nets, and those posts that they hit, those ones could go in.
And Thatcher Demko is one of those kids that, you can't give him any space at any time. Watching him for Team USA, he looks so calm and cool in net, especially versus Team Canada. But also, like, when he plays the NHL, I mean, there's more traffic, more size, more speed. The Devils have to make it difficult for every goaltender that they go up against. But you also got to win those board battles like Wayne Simmons has been. And as long as you can do that and Jesper Boqvist can start learning to play a more NHL two-way game than he did in Carolina, I think he'll be just fine.
Yeah, and then like I said, the Devils they looked better. They still need to fix some things. Come the game against Winnipeg tonight, and they're going to have to fix a lot of things that they expect to win in Winnipeg, Calgary, Edmonton, and Vancouver because I mean, it would be nice to have 5 wins on the road on this road trip. If you get 3 more, that would be ideal. Get 4 wins on a 5-game road trip, that would be huge for them, especially for a young team. So, we'll see. It all starts tonight in Winnipeg. You got to come out strong. I mean, that's a bit, it's always the same thing. Come out strong, get pucks deep, make the smart plays, keep it simple. And they did that against Carolina.
And I was going to say, Carolina was one of those teams that you just can't, give extra, time and space and rebounds because you've seen it before in that game. They were able to capitalize on certain Devils miscues and odd man, rushes. It does show, there's some carelessness being ironed out, but they looked a lot better. The Devils looked a lot better, but we have to think about the way Blackwood is starting to learn to play with this slightly improved Devils defense scheme.
Yeah, he is. He's definitely improving, and he's going to be the reason they win games. And their offense, they have good offense, and let's not forget about something that we haven't mentioned that was a problem at the beginning of the year, but has improved because I believe it has scored over the last 6 games. The Devils have scored a power play goal in those 6 games, at least one.
And it seems the way like the Devils' power play has been clicking ever since that Ranger game. I believe you have to credit Fitzgerald along with Nasreddine and Joff Ward. I mean, not Joff Ward. I saw him against the Calgary Flames on the other night. Oh my God, I'm feeling old. I'm feeling old. Just
you wish you had him still.
I wish I had. I was saying that the other night, but anyways, what was his name?
Kowalski, not Kowalski.
And Greer.
Greer, yes.
Mike Greer's running the power play, so it feels odd to see 2 different faces in 2 different nights. So I got flashbacks of the good years.
Yeah. So I mean, the power plays looked a lot better. They're moving and they're spreading things out more. They're not trying to keep things boxed in. I think what helps too is the fact that Vaughton is back on the top unit and Subban's on the second unit, so he's a little bit more comfortable.
I believe when Jack Hughes is out there, with Sammy Vatanen understands Jack Hughes' style. They can pass a puck properly, and Sammy Vatanen allows it to go to Severson. Severson can bomb it in whenever he can. Just less passes, more shots. I'm not talking about shots like vodka, but I mean shots on net.
Yeah, and Subban was shooting the puck more against Carolina, and Philly was ripping that bomb. So that was great to see, and he needs to keep doing it.
And we just need to see the way Will Butcher can play. Dissect the other team's defense. Passing as a really good quarterback, and be able to find those open lanes. And if there's a time for you to shoot, do it. Don't hesitate.
Yeah, just shoot the puck. One of the greatest things my coach has ever said, and maybe that's the way it's because I play the game and play the game. The way I play the game is, he said, "There's never a bad shot. Just throw the puck on net and good things happen."
Or as Wayne Gretzky said, 100% of the shots you miss are the ones you don't take.
Yeah, that's just as good too. And just throw pucks on net. It could hit somebody to take a bounce off a guy's skate, off a butt. It's okay. The Devils need those breaks because they haven't gotten them.
And we've seen that last year where, someone like Marcus Johansson, tries to pass it to someone and it hits right off that one person's skate and it deflects in.
Yeah.
It's like putt-putt.
Yeah. You just get a lucky break, just a bounce off somebody, puck goes in the net, and it changes the game. And like the other night, the Miles Wood goal comes off the end boards, boom, right to him in the net.
That's basically the laws of physics in action.
Yeah. So the Devils need those things, and you want to have those things and if you start winning and you start having the confidence, then you have a belief that, hey, all right, now things are turning my way. Now the bounces are going to go our way. Instead of when they were losing, it was like, why is everything going against us?
And you know what? Things are starting to be more positive for this team. And, we want to end this segment on a positive note. And I like to think that, there should be better improvement versus Winnipeg. But I would like to see Blackwood steal a game from Winnipeg.
I think he can. I think he has the ability to do that. I mean, he proved it against a very good Carolina team, even though they were playing on the back end of back-to-backs, just like the Devils were. But he was still on his game for having played the night before.
And so for our listeners out there, we are on many podcasters from Apple Podcasts to Anchor to Podbean and so many others. Check us out on anchor.fm and also check out our merch on Big Heads Media. It's all on there. And we also have a new website, so check it out on our Twitter.
Check it out on our Twitter. Check our Twitters out. I'm at Jim Behringer. Lots of posts coming from Last Word on Hockey. I'll be watching a game tonight. I know Joe will certainly be watching a game with me. Not with me, but he'll be watching along.
But we will message each other saying,
Absolutely. I'm watching. So, a lot of outlets. Check us out on Instagram. I put some stuff up there. You want to check me out on Snapchat. I've done a couple of post-game videos to just my summary of what happened, good, bad, or indifferent. So check that out too. We're everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Google, YouTube. I don't know. Am I missing anything?
There's a lot more coming our way, and I'm working on Stitcher.
Stitcher's coming soon. Cool.
And before you know it, we'll see you next time. Let's go Devils.
Let's go Devils.